Good afternoon, students. Welcome to Best College Online Classes. My name is Raila Rajesh, lecturer in Zoology. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss about the most popular naming method of living organisms, that is binomial nomenclature, which already we started in last class. So we will continue the same topic, binomial nomenclature. As I gave you some details about the binomial nomenclature in last class, now we'll continue the same topic, binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature, one of the most popular method of naming of living organisms, binomial nomenclature. By using this method of naming, how could we name the living organisms with a particular and distinct scientific words that I gave you in last class? As already I told you, who developed this method of binomial nomenclature? Carolus von Linnaeus. In last class, I gave you that the method of binomial nomenclature was given by, this method was developed by Carolus von Linnaeus, who was popularized as a father of taxonomy. Father of taxonomy. And also I gave you the two most popular books written by Carolus von Linnaeus. One is about plants, another one is about animals. Species Plantarum is the book written by Carolus von Linnaeus. In this book, for the first time, Linnaeus used the method of binomial nomenclature to name the plants. And after that, in another book, especially in the 10th edition of Systema Naturae, Carolus von Linnaeus used binomial nomenclature method to name the animals. Species Plantarum was published in 1753, whereas Systema Naturae was published in 1758. The details we discussed in last class. And after that, what are the universal rules of binomial nomenclature that we are discussing? What are the universal rules of binomial nomenclature that we are discussing? In that, universal rules of binomial nomenclature, as we discussed in last class, I gave you only one point in this. That is, in binomial nomenclature, every living organism will be named with two distinct scientific words. Every living organism will be named with two distinct scientific words. So there are two distinct scientific words are there in the binomial name. Two distinct scientific words are used in the scientific names. And in these two distinct scientific words, the first word, already I told you, the first word represents generic name, or commonly we are known this as a genus name. In binomial nomenclature method, every living organism should be named with the two distinct scientific words. In this, the first word represents generic name or genus name, and the second word represents, the first word represents generic name or genus name, and the second word represents specific epithet. Specific epithet, or commonly we are known this as a species name. Okay. So here in binomial nomenclature method, every living organism will be named with two distinct scientific words. That in that two scientific words, the first word represents generic name or genus name. The second word represents specific epithet or species name. The second word represents specific epithet or species name, that you have to remember. And after completion of this, In these two, generic name and specific name, generic name is noun. Generic name represents the noun, but specific epithet is adjective. Generic name is noun and specific epithet is adjective. Because of that, always the generic name or genus name should be start with a capital letter, capital alphabet, capital letter or capital alphabet. So in the scientific name, the first word is generic name, second word is specific epithet. Generic name represents a noun and specific epithet represents the adjective. So noun always should be start with, but the second word, that is a specific epithet, this specific epithet is adjective, so always the species name or the specific epithet should be later. So that is every living organism will be named with two distinct scientific words. In that, the first word represents generic name or genus name. The second word represents specific epithet or species name. And the second universal rule of binomial nomenclature, in the two scientific words, the generic name represents a noun. It is a noun. And the specific epithet is an adjective. Because of that, always the genus name or generic name should be start with capital alphabet. But the specific name or a species name is adjective. So always it should be start with a small letter. So that is a second rule. Second rule that you have to remember. Always the genus name should be start with the capital alphabet, and species name should be start with the small alphabet, small letter in the alphabets. Okay. So that we have to remember that is the second rule. And after completion of these two rules, the scientific words which we are using to name the organisms must be have a Latin origin. These two words which we are using as a scientific names, that words must be Latin in origin or that will be Latinized. So the two scientific words which are used as a scientific name are Latin words or that will be Latinized. So the two scientific words which we are using as a names should be Latinized or already they have Latin origin. What is Latinized means? For example, if you choose a name, if you choose a particular name to an organism in your language or in your relatives or in your related areas, okay. So, for example, you notice that animal in Ballari, and you want to name that animal with your native name. For example, your name is Suresh. If you identify that organism in Ballari, if you want to name that animal or plant as a Suresh Ballariensis, by your name and your locality name, you can name the organisms like that also. Suresh Ballariensis is a new organism discovered by you. And these words, what I gave here, the words must be Latin words. Is these two words, Suresh and Ballariensis, is that words are Latin? No, these are not Latin words. So then you have to apply for the approval of the two words as a Latin words by Latin linguistic organizations. Latin linguistic organization. Then they will accept these two words as a Latin words. Then you can use that as a scientific name, Suresh Ballariensis. Okay, is it clear? If you select two words from Latin language only, it's not a problem. But if you use any two words as a scientific name which are not belongs to Latin, then you have to Latinize that words. Then you have to Latinize that words. So the third point or third rule here, the scientific words which are using as a scientific names must have a Latin origin or that will be Latinized. So these two words are Latin words or Latinized words. Did you get the meaning? What is Latin word and the Latinized word? If a word is belongs to Latin language, its origin is in Latin, so that is Latin word. If a word that has a different origin that belongs to different language, but that is accepted as a Latin word or that is approved as a Latin word by Latin linguistic organizations, then it is accepted as a Latin word, then only we should use that as a scientific name. So that is the third rule here. First rule, every living organism has two words in their scientific name, generic name and specific epithet or species name. Generic name represents the noun and specific name represents the adjective. So noun always should start with capital alphabet and adjective always should start with small. So genus name always should start with capital letter and species name should be start with small letter. And the words which we are using to name the organisms by using binomial nomenclature method, always that must have Latin origin or that will be Latinized. Okay. So that is the third rule. And after completion of that, the next rule here, the next rule the binomial nomenclature. Next rule are printed. When the scientific names are printed, when printed, the scientific names, we must have to italics font, italics font. So when the scientific names are printed, we must have to use which font? Italics. The scientific name should be printed only in italics font. What it indicates? The italic font indicates the Latin origin of scientific names. So here, when we printed the scientific names, we have to print in italics. We have to print in italics only. That you have to remember. So when the scientific names are printed, that scientific names must be printed in italics font. That must be printed in italics. What this italics printing indicates? This italics printing indicates the Latin origin of the scientific names. The Latin origin of the scientific names indicated by this italics font. So when the scientific names are printed, that should be print in which font? Italics. That should be print in italics. And after that, when the scientific names are handwritten, if you will write a scientific name with your hand, how could you notice the how could you notice the Latin origin of that? If you will print that, you will print that in italics. So that can indicate the Latin origin of that particular scientific name. But what about when a person will write the scientific names with hand? If that are handwritten, how could we represent the Latin origin? If the scientific names are handwritten, we have to underline that scientific names. We have to underline generic name and specific epithet separately. Underline separately. This is also a very, very important one. If scientific names will be printed, we have to print in italics. If we write the names by hand, we have to underline generic name and specific name separately. So generic name and specific epithet should be underlined separately. That indicates the Latin origin or Latinized nature of scientific names. So that is the next rule here. Is it clear? That is the next rule. So this should be printed in italics. If you write with hand, then we have to underline the two separate. What is the next rule here? The scientist name who discovered that organism. You have to write the name of scientist in bracket, in abbreviative form, not in full form. Okay. So scientist name. How to write scientist name? The scientist name should be right after the scientist name should be right after species name in bracket. So the scientist name should be represent in abbreviative forms, short form. The scientist name should be right after species name in bracket in abbreviative form only, not full form. In abbreviative form, the scientific name should be written. The scientific name should be written. So that also you have to remember, ma. Especially, I told you here in bracket. I told you just wait. One more point you have to notice here. When you have to use the bracket, when there is no need to use the bracket, that also I will give you. So if you want that organism, we have a form after genus name. For example, the scientific name of lion. The scientific name of lion is Felis leo. Felis leo. Felis leo is the scientific name of lion. So if you observe here, all rules I found. Generic name, I started with capital letter. Leo, that is the specific epithet or species name, I started with small letter. And these two I written by hand, so I separately underline that two. Felis leo, separately underlined here. I want to mention the scientist who discovered or who named this organism for the first time, that is Linnaeus. So I can write the word not Carolus von Linnaeus, just in the abbreviative form, that is the Lin. So Felis leo Lin means what it indicates. Felis leo is the scientific name of lion. This name was given by Linnaeus, or this organism was discovered or identified and explained the characters, and this was classified and named by Linnaeus, who named this animal with this word Felis leo, that is Linnaeus. So I wrote here Linnaeus in short form or abbreviative form. Felis leo Lin. See here. Felis leo Lin. If I want to mention the year in which year this name was introduced by the scientist, so that name should be right after scientist name. After scientist name, we have to write. See, this name was used for the first time by Carolus von Linnaeus in his book Systema Naturae, which was published in 1758. 1758. So if we want to mention The name of taxonomist who named the term. Year of naming, we have to use abbreviative forms after completion of scientific era for discovery. So here in 58, Felis Leolin 1758. What it indicates? What it explains? Felis is the genus. Felis is the genus. This Felis genus name represent a noun, so always the genus name should be start with capital alphabet. Leo is specific epithet or species name. This specific epithet or species name is adjective, so always we have to start this with a small letter. I wrote this by hand, so both are separately underlined. This type of separate underlining of genus and species represent the Latin words or Latin origin or Latinized nature of a scientific name. And after completion of species, I wrote the scientist name here in the form is Carolus Van Linnaeus. I wrote the year of discovery or the okay. So that's also you have to remember or year of discovery. Okay, in the scientific names. That is also a rule. Now one more thing also you have to remember here. Now I kept the scientist name and year in the bracket. What it means? Before I didn't use brackets, but now I kept the scientist name and year in bracket. What it means? So whenever the scientist name and year of discovery is in the bracket, that indicates the changing of scientific name. The changing of scientific name. For the first time, the lion was named as a Felis Leo by Linnaeus in 1758, but later the scientific name of lion was changed as Panthera leo. Panthera leo. Now, what is the scientific name we are using for lion? Panthera leo. But what was the first scientific name given to the lion by Carolus Van Linnaeus? That is Felis leo. Later, the genus Panthera was established. Okay, and the characters of lion are matched to this Panthera, because of that it was kept under the genus Panthera. So Panthera leo is the new name or modern name of lion, but which was the first name given by Linnaeus to lion? Felis leo. So how to represent that changing of names? If there is any change in the scientific names, or if there is any modification in the scientific names, how to represent that? If you keep the scientist name and year of discovery, indicates the change in the name of that organism. The change in the name of organism, that you have to keep in your mind. Is it clear? What it indicates now? I wrote this Felis Leo, Lin 1758 in bracket. What it means? Felis Leo is the scientific name of lion. It was given by Linnaeus in 1758, but later this name was changed. Later this name was changed. Okay, so that's also you have to remember here how to represent change in a scientific name, modifications in scientific names. If you keep the scientist name and year of naming in the bracket, that represents or that indicates the change in the name. Felis Leo was modified into Panthera leo. Felis Leo was renamed as Panthera leo. Okay, so these are the main rules of binomial nomenclature or universal rules. Every person who are naming the living organism scientifically must be follow this universal rule of binomial nomenclature. What are the universal rules of binomial nomenclature? For example, if you observe Homo sapiens, for example, the scientific name of man, by using this all rules, how to write the scientific name? Homo, Homo sapiens. You have to underline separately. Homo sapiens. That is the scientific name of man. You all know that. For example, observe here. Musca domestica. Musca domestica. So here Musca domestica, housefly. Housefly. So here Musca, the genus name I started with capital letter. Domestica, species name I started with small letter. I separately underline these two, which indicates the Latin origin or Latinized nature of the scientific names. Like that, all scientific names. For example, Pavo cristatus, Pavo cristatus, parrot. For example, Panthera tigris, Panthera tigris, Panthera domestica, that is our common cat. So, like that, different scientific names. What we are using for all living organisms, or majority of the names are binomial names. Once again, just we'll recall what are the universal rules of binomial nomenclature method. See, in this binomial nomenclature method, every living organism should be provided with the two distinct scientific words as a scientific name. In these two words, the first word represents generic name or genus name, and the second word represents specific epithet or species name. The first word, that is the generic name, is noun in nature, but the specific epithet is adjective in nature. Because of that, always we should start the generic name with capital alphabet and the specific epithet with the small letter of alphabets. And after that, these scientific words which we are using for naming of living organisms must be have a Latin origin or that are Latinized words. When these scientific names will be printed, we have to use italics font. Italics font. Italics font represent the Latin origin or Latinized nature of scientific names. And when we will write this by hand, if the scientific names are handwritten separately, the generic name and specific, the Latin origin or Latinized nature of scientific names. If you want to mention the scientist name or taxonomist name who discovered or who named that organism, you have to mention the scientist name after genus name in the form of, in abbreviative form. The year of discovery, you have to mention the year after the scientist name, But there is no need to underline the scientist name and year, because these are not Latin words, right? If there is any changes in the scientific name, or if any animal is renamed, how to represent that? If the scientist name is in bracket, if the scientist name and year is in the bracket, that indicates the change in the name. Or that animal is renamed with a new name. Okay. So here you should notice, try to write the scientific names or binomial names of all the animals and plants which you can observe in your surroundings. That's the work you have to do. Try to identify the binomial names of animals and plants in your surroundings. For example, if you see in your house, there are house flies, there are wall lizards, there are cockroaches, there are rats in some houses, not in all. Okay, and dogs are there, domesticated animals like dogs, cats. Okay, and also cows are there, buffaloes are there. You can find different type of birds. Try to find the binomial names of that animals and also plants. Different type of plants are there in your surroundings. So try to find the scientific names or binomial names of that organisms, right? That is clear. Now, after completion of binomial nomenclature, one more method of nomenclature also there. That is a trinomial nomenclature. After completion of binomial, the most popular method is binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature. What is the binomial name of myself is Rayala Rajesh. My name is Rayala Rajesh. In this, the first one is genus name, the second one is specific epithet. Like that, you are also identify your binomial name. Okay. Now here, one more method of nomenclature, that is the trinomial nomenclature. Trinomial nomenclature. So what is a trinomial nomenclature? The name itself suggests the meaning. In this method, every living organism should be named with three scientific words. Three scientific words. First one is generic name, same like binomial nomenclature. Second one is species name or specific epithet, that is also exactly same like binomial nomenclature. And the third one is subspecies. Subspecies. Okay. For more convenient study, for more convenient and accurate study of organisms, here one more word also added, that is subspecies. So in trinomial nomenclature, every living organism will be named with three words. The first one represents genus or generic name. The second one represents a specific epithet or species name. And the third one is subspecies. 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 So there are three names. There are three names that you have to remember here. Genus plus species plus subspecies. Genus plus species plus subspecies. For example, Carvus splendens. Carvus splendens. Carvus splendens is the scientific name of crow. Carvus splendens is the binomial name of crow. But there is a trinomial name for this crow. Carvus splendens splendens. Carvus splendens splendens is the scientific name of crow in India and Pakistan. In India and Pakistan, what is the scientific name of crow? Carvus splendens splendens. That's the trinomial name. Carvus splendens splendens is the scientific name or trinomial name of crow in India and Pakistan. Whereas Carvus splendens insolens. Carvus splendens insolens. Insolence. Carvus splendens insolens. If you observe here carefully, Carvus splendens splendens is Indian crow and Pakistan crow. What about Carvus splendens insolens? Carvus splendens insolens is the scientific name of crow in Myanmar. In Myanmar or Burma. The old name is Burma, now it is Myanmar. In Myanmar, what is the scientific name of crow? By using trinomial nomenclature, Carvus splendens insolens. Carvus splendens insolens. And if you observe, the scientific name of crow in Sri Lanka, that is Carvus splendens protegatus. Carvus splendens protegatus. Carvus splendens protegatus. It is the scientific name of crow in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, the scientific name of crow is Carvus splendens protegatus. Observe here, Carvus splendens is binomial name. that is universally accepted throughout the world. It has same name. What is the scientific name of crow? Throughout the world is common. That is Carvus splendens. But if you want to identify the particular geographical area where that species is living or where that crow is living, then you have to use subspecies. So, for example, to identify the crow in India and Pakistan, what is the subspecies we used here? Splendens. To identify the crow in Myanmar, we used insolens. To identify crow in Sri Lanka, we used Protigatus. We used Protigatus. So Carvus splendens is scientific name of crow in India and Pakistan. So here subspecies also we are using. So based on this, what you have to understand is subspecies always represents the geographical locations. Subspecies always mainly represent the geographical location of that particular species. Understood? Carvus splendens in India and Pakistan, Carvus splendens insolens, Myanmar, Carvus splendens protigatus, Sri Lanka. It is very simple, man. If you want to mention the exact geographical location of a particular organism, we have to use a subspecies name. In that, which method you have to follow? Trinomial nomenclature method you have to follow. For example, Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is a scientific name for all human beings on the earth. But if I will give you one trinomial name, Homo sapiens africans, Homo sapiens africans, Homo sapiens Australians, Homo sapiens Americans, Homo sapiens Europeans. So what it indicates? The third word, subspecies, what it indicates? The subspecies indicates the geographical location. Geographical location. For example, Homo sapiens africanus or Africans, where that are living, where that human beings are living, they are living in Africa. Homo sapiens Australians, they are living in Australia. So subspecies usually represent the geographical location. Geographical location. Subspecies usually represents the geographical locations of the organisms. Is it clear? So in this class, what we discussed? We discussed two methods of nomenclature, binomial nomenclature and trinomial nomenclature. The most popular method, widely using method is binomial nomenclature method, which was developed by Carolus von Linnaeus, who is considered as the father of taxonomy. And what are the universal rules of binomial nomenclature that we discussed? And after completion of that, we discussed trinomial nomenclature. In this method, every living organism should be provided with three scientific words. The first word is genus name, second one is species name, and third one is subspecies name. Here the main aim of this trinomial nomenclature is to represent the geographical location of organisms. Okay, I gave you Carvus splendens as an example here. Carvus splendens is a crow, trinomial name of crow in India and Sri Lanka, sorry, India and Pakistan. Carvus splendens and insolens. Carvus splendens insolens is the scientific name of crow in Myanmar. Carvus splendens protigatus is the scientific name of crow in Sri Lanka. So subspecies name usually represents the geographical area or geographical location of organisms. So that you have to remember. Along with this, some more details about binomial names we have to discuss. For example, what is the scientific name of cobra? Snake cobra. Naza. What is the scientific name of spotted deer? Axis. What is the scientific name of cutla fish? Cutla. There is a hilsa fish. So if you observe all these scientific names once, Axis, Naza, Cutla, hilsa. So if you observe, both genus name and species name are same. Both genus name and species name are same. So this type of binomial names are known as Tautonyms. So in next class, we will discuss about the tautonyms and also sibling species. So that two concepts we will discuss in next class.